to As the Story Goes. I'm Brad Patton. Today we welcome Izaguirre guitarist Cesar Izaguirre to the podcast. Izaguirre released Sunset Funeral back on April 4th through Deathwish Inc. Izzy talks about the musical legacy of their family, having a strong DIY music scene in the community, how they joined Izaguirre, the shoegaze renaissance, how the artwork for Sunset Funeral came together, and more. If you're a fan of shoegaze like I am, I think you will love Sunset Funeral, so make sure you click the link in the show notes to check the album out. Thanks so much for listening to this episode of As the Story Grows. If you're brand new to the podcast, welcome. Thanks for checking us out. You can find links in our show notes to come hang out on our Discord server, to join our mailing list, and you can support the show financially over on Patreon, where $1 a month gets you early access to every episode. And the best way to support the show is if you hear this episode, hear Izaguirre, think somebody might enjoy the band or the podcast as a whole, share the episode with your friends, with your Facebook communities, with whatever type of network you have of people who enjoy music and discovering new music. I would appreciate it. People are more receptive to check things out when their friends recommend them to them, as opposed to just being fed to them algorithmically. So share with your friends. Enjoy today's conversation with Izzy from Izaguirre. Are you guys on tour right now, or are you just like in your car, like lunch break or something?
No. So I play in two other bands, and one of them is on tour right now. We're on the West Coast.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. Gonna head back home. It was like a 2-week run, so it's been chill.
Nice. That's fun. Well, welcome. Are you originally from Texas?
No. I was actually born and raised in Reynosa, Tamaulipas, Mexico.
Okay.
So that's like from where we're from. It's like around like 20 minutes to the border on the other side.
Okay.
So yeah, I've been in the U.S. since I was like, I want to say like 9 or 10.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's cool. What brought your family stateside?
Yeah, just opportunities, just like education. I'm like first generation.
Okay.
My mom like was working here and, fought really, hard to get us like into school and stuff. And like, my sister committed to college, but, and I'm still doing, like stuff, but, it's more like other kind of work. But, like now I'm just kind of like been here my entire, I guess like formative years, post 10. Yeah. Does your mom ever hang that over? Like, I came to this country to give you an opportunity and you're wasting your life in band? Not at all. My mom is a saint. She is she's actually a musician. She used to be in like sorry about that. She used to be in like a girl group back in like the 90s. Like, like it was like Mexican like pop thing. It was like a big thing. Like, I don't know, the big popular ones like Menudo. Like people heard of Menudo. Okay, that was like kind of like the thing, but like everybody was doing. There was like girl Menudo here, and then there was like a boy group over. Like it was everybody was doing it. So my mom did that with her sisters. So she awesome. Gets it, but different.
That's awesome. So you kind of just grew up with music in your house, and like, I don't know what the right word is, but like performance and music was always there for you.
Like my mom was definitely like more, she's always been very, like outward, and she would sing at parties, and like, she was always like at our family gatherings, and she's a great singer. So like, I definitely always saw that performing aspect from her. My dad was very much like the taste maker guy in the house. Like my dad was like bringing around the White Snake, the Guns N' Roses, the fucking, you know what I mean? Like all the quote unquote cool stuff when I was a kid, you know what I mean? And then, so like it was definitely like very very much so like my family. You know, I was not a very like outwardly, you know, social kid. So like a lot of my taste did come from my family, and I'm also the oldest. So like I didn't really have any point of reference.
Yeah. Yeah. At what point does it kind of go to just like listening and enjoying the stuff your parents are into to like, I don't know, that band or artist song you discover where you're like, it connects with you?
Oh yeah. Like I I remember like specifically the records and the time where like that I made that switch from like, oh, we're listening to like Guns N' Roses on the way to like because my dad would like to go like like garage sale hopping and stuff like that. So we'd always go to like different garage sales, and that's how we would find like music and like stuff like that. We'd go through people's old collections. And I remember the first time I saw not Green Day, what's it called? My Chemical Romance, Three Cheers for Sweet Revenge, and All American Rejects, self-titled, the yellow or the orange one or whatever with the cart. I found those two, and I was like, "This is what I'm getting here." And that was really the steep decline from like finding my own music, and like I was obsessed with all their like with all the other bands that they were in, you know, like all this other stuff. And luckily, My Chemical Romance had some ties to like, you know, like Thursday and like or you know what I mean, like all these other bands that like really put me onto what I would, you know, would say was my first like, you know, true love. You know, it was like, you know, that kind of music, punk rock, and you know.
Yeah, yeah. How quickly there do you discover like a local scene and like start trying to form bands?
Oof. So I had been wanting to do music like as like pretty much as a baby. Like there's pictures of me as a kid, you know, wanting like holding guitars and stuff. But the point of me like finding those records and me actually starting a band was probably like 5 years. Okay. Like I think I started my first band when I was 15 or 16. It was the summer of eighth. I think it was the summer of like eighth grade into freshman year or something like that. I had been in the U.S. like, you know, again, like 5 years or so, you know, like already like started, you know, kind of like forming some stuff. And I made my first friend online, which is now the member of one of my other bands, Ryan. And they straight up were like that person that was like, yo, like, we're going to the VFWs on Saturdays, and like yeah, it's like people are beating each other's ass, and it's like everyone's going crazy, like we need to do this. And I was like, okay, like I know like I like the music, but like I never thought that was ever like a thing. And then I found my first local band that like was like friends of friends, like I think it was like one of my friends' girlfriends, but something like that, right? And they were like, yo, they're playing this Saturday, and that was like one of the first like metalcore post-hardcore bands that I saw. And I was like, whoa, it was just a steep, again, like it was probably like, you know, from that point forward I haven't stopped being in bands since I was like 15, 16.
Nice. So you had a good like thriving local scene at VFW halls.
I would, yeah. I mean, it was a very tight knit scene. I mean, for like 10 years, it was straight up the same like 25 to 35 people. On a crazy day, we'd see like, you know, 100, you know?
Yeah.
Like, and that was still pulling people from, you know, far and wide for our area. But like, I feel, yeah, like now it's gotten a lot better, like way better. It was active in the sense that there was a lot of different bands, and there was a lot of you know, like DIY-ness. Like there were still backyard shows, there was still like, you know, like house shows and stuff like that. And yeah, it was driving in that way. Not a big, you know, like it wasn't like as like commercial as it is now. Like we're like finding it and shit. But yeah, you know.
Going through liner notes and credits as best I could online, you're fairly new to Glare. Is that correct?
Absolutely, that's correct.
Yeah. Yeah. How'd you end up joining the band?
Like I mentioned, you know how like the scene was very tight knit. I think I was like maybe 17, 18 or something. I was no, it was definitely closer to 20. Well, whatever. I was in another band, and Glare came from the remnants of another band that was in like an emo band, I guess, like kind of like Basement Worship, if you will.
Okay. Yeah.
And like that band fizzled out, and we had just met each other. They were from a whole nother like part of the Rio Grande Valley is kind of big. Yeah. So like they're from an hour away from me, and that's still that's really far relative to, you know, like for me. So like I would only see them at shows and stuff like that. But you know, just from like being around and seeing each other and hanging and stuff like that, we just realized that, you know, we kind of had the same, you know, grind, you know, like we were all doing this, and like we're definitely not hanging out very often, but we were like in the same mindset. We just never really like sat together and like hung out, you know what I mean? And then I was touring pretty heavily in 2021, 2021, 22 with Riley, which is the band I play drums in. And they like just wanted to take the next step forward into like touring more out. And like I kind of had a little bit of like, you know, my feet were a little bit more wet in that aspect, where like I'd been touring outside of like, you know, the state, or like in and out of the states and stuff like that. And like with a DIY band, you know, like, cause Riley isn't like a huge thing. We're definitely like all self-booked, all everything. So it was very much like they saw that I was doing it, and they were like, yo, we're ready to do this. Like, do you want to jump on? And, you know, so on and so forth. I literally got on, I you know, joined Glare and immediately started on LP1 with them. That's awesome. So it was like right away.
That's awesome. That's awesome. How'd you guys get connected with Deathwish?
I believe Deathwish was a connection through Sunday Drive. If I'm not mistaken, I believe they reached out to Sunday Drive, and that was sort of like that. If I'm not mistaken, I'm not really like crazy with the details, but
that's not your side of the band. Yeah, I got that. When I discovered shoegaze like 20 years ago, there was no scene when I discovered the genre. My Bloody Valentine was broken up, Slowdive was broken up. It was just like going back to discover that music. There's this real resurgence in the last decade, and especially the last like 5 years. The genre has just exploded. What is it kind of, I mean, are you guys like inspired by Nothing or like, is it just, I don't know, going back and discovering those old records? What do you think has brought that sound and scene kind of back to life?
Yeah, I mean, I feel like it's a combination of a few things for sure. Like when I was in high school and when I was listening to bands that like inspired the sound that, you know, Glare would eventually turn into, it was definitely Nothing. It was definitely where it was those bands like, I'm trying to think, more like Run for Cover, you know, like the earlier, you know, stuff like that. Those were the bands that really were like our like bread and butter. Like that's what we liked. But I feel like it's kind of like we never really wanted to explicitly be like, we're going to do the Nothing thing, or we're going to do the Word thing. It was always just like us trying to do us, whether people heard it or not. You know what I mean? And like, I don't know, I feel like it does pull from a lot of like older references, like a lot of like the classic stuff. To be fully front, I feel like I'm learning also like what this genre and like everything means to a lot of people at the same time. So like I'm getting put on by my bandmates on classics. Like recently I just discovered, you know, like Catherine Wheel. I mean, I had listened to them, but like going in and listening to like full Catherine Wheel, like Ferment, and listening to, you know, like the Blue record, both of those, like, you know, just like I'm learning as well, and I'm going with it too. So like I never claimed to feel like, oh, like we're very much inspired by like this super deep underground, like I'm not that person, but you know, I would definitely be like, you know, for me it's Nothing. That's one of like my top bands forever. And yeah, like again, it's inspired by a lot of different things, but
yeah, there's a lot to pull from now for sure.
yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. New album is called Sunset Funeral. Where'd the kind of concept for this record come from?
Mm-hmm. So Sunset Funeral touches on a lot of different feelings of loss from a lot of like different perspectives. Some like I feel like it's open to a lot of interpretations, so like you can still be like, oh, it could be about this or that or this, but it's definitely the main general feeling is just like loss and that feeling of like, you know, like long I don't want to, it's kind of like it feels like longing. I don't know, it does feel like we're like a nostalgic feeling, but not for like something like old school. It's very much like tapping into like old painful memories. If it sounds really kind of funny, but that's really what the record feels like to me. Almost, they're all like vignettes of like really rough moments in Glaire's past. Like, so yeah, it's rough. It's a little heavier. That's why it sounds like Sunset Funeral. It sounds kind of like, I don't know, deep.
yeah it's a record about processing emotions and past events, and I don't know, maybe not overcoming, but like, looking back.
Yeah, and just like, again, like, I feel like it could be open to a lot of interpretation. I feel like there's like kids nowadays, they haven't had the experience of like losing a family member or a best friend or something like that. Like, just, you know, like these experiences that they can interpret like, oh, I'm missing, you know, my partner, but like a lot of this goes back to like us, like mourning the loss of our friends, mourning the loss of like, you know, deeper things that like, again, we leave it open to interpretation because like we don't want this to be something that like you can just, oh, I'm gonna go to this record for this feeling, you know what I mean? Like, it's definitely something that you can interpret a bunch of different ways, literally. Like it's really, it's cool for me.
Yeah. Who came up or did the album cover for you guys? Because it's gorgeous, but it's also kind of pixelated and like, I don't know, not like this crystal clear image.
Yeah. His art, I believe his Instagram is like Salad NYC. Okay. I would get his actual first and last. I just can't get it off top right now, but yeah, it's I believe it's hand painted, or it was painted, so it does kind of have that like it looks kind of like blurry. It has that effect, but yeah, it's more, there was like, it feels like, I don't know, it's like the same feeling of like open for interpretation. I feel like a lot of people would be like, oh, it's just like a pretty little album cover. There's been multiple times that I've personally listened to the record like, and just like stared at the front, just like old school style, just, I don't know. And it really does feel like it encapsulates a lot of like the highlights and the lowest points of the record. It gets really dark at some points, I feel. So like, I don't know, and that it's just visually, I feel like it represents it pretty well. And we've had that art almost longer than the final mixes to the record. Wow. Like, it was something that was very deliberately like chosen. So yeah.
Nice. You guys, your website right now, sunsetfuneral.com, is this like old school looking web page and like a MySpace page. Whose idea was that for the website?
I believe it's a collective thing. In Guts, there's a little moment where, for our music video Guts, we just put out, there's a moment where it starts off and they're selecting the song, and it's like just a straight up old school MP3 flash player, like MySpace kind of style, and a real HTML coding kind of like kind of thing. So yeah, no, it was just like something that like really matched with that, like that look. Yeah, it's just something that looked really cool.
comes out April 4th. You guys are going on tour this spring. Is the plan just to spend as much time on the road as possible promoting the record?
Yep, that's the name of the game right now. I feel like once we put out this record that we've been like holding on to for a little bit, we just really want to, put out there like I don't know, like we're a band that's had like 2-3 EPs, like, as a catalog. This is our first time that we feel like we're putting out something that truly feels like the band in its full, you know what I mean? It goes through the spectrums of like anything from the first couple EPs to like the last one right before this. So like, I don't know. We're just really excited to be able to just play it, and that's all we're gonna be doing pretty much up until a good while. Just pushing it. We just really want everybody to hear it far and wide, playing any and every small town. Like, I don't know, it's just, we've always wanted to do it, like hit the road this hard, and now we finally have something that we can like feel really proud about pushing and stuff. So
yeah. Have you found the touring landscape, whether it's being on Deathwish or just like the way things I feel like have changed post pandemic, like that you could play more mixed bills and there's an acceptance if you're playing with heavier bands versus not just like in all shoegaze bill?
Sure. Yes, absolutely. And we prefer that. Again, like we're all from our scene. It was a very small, insular microcosm of a community. So like we had power violence bands playing with, harsh noise projects, playing with emo bands, playing with pop punk bands. Like it was all a mismatch of everything. And we're all hardcore, like kids from the baseline. Like that's was our bread and butter. So like we want to play with anything and everything and go even wider. I feel like there's a couple things that like we still haven't even feel like we've put out about ourselves. We love like electronic music. We love, like a lot of things that we haven't even really fully like even expressed out into like our community. And like we're excited to be able to show that. And like over the months and years, I feel like that personality of the band will like, start showing through, and hopefully like, people get to like actually like, interact with the project more than just the music. Yeah.
Your hat and your t-shirt kind of showcase the extremes of the music, maybe.
Yeah. There's a Power Trip, Aphex, like literally.